everybody. Steve Plitti again from NJ Advanced Media. I'm here at High Point Solutions Stadium for Episode 4, Season 2 of the Rebuilding Rutgers podcast. As always, I am joined by world-renowned Rutgers beat writers. After a 65-0 win, you guys, your reputations have gone global as far as I'm concerned. Keith Sargent, Ryan Dunleavy, and look, I've got to start here. This moment has been bothering me all weekend. It ruined the weekend that I was going to have to come in here today, sit across from Dunleavy, and say this. And I want to get it out right away. I want to start the podcast with this so I can move on from this and we can have a good production. So here goes. Nebraska is a winnable game.
Whoa, there you go.
I hope you're proud of yourself.
I am very petty, so I am very petty.
You have won. This victory. Call that your Pulitzer. It's never going to get better.
If we could get our engineer, Keith Sargent, to replay the discussion.
Make it your phone.
Can you pull that up for me?
The ringtone on your phone. They're
this is
bad.
a low-budget production.
They're bad.
Sorry.
Nebraska's bad. And we'll talk about Rutgers and what it did against Morgan State a little later on, but I think most fans watched that and are ready to move on. So let's move on. I mean, let's go right to Nebraska. And, they losing to Northern Illinois, losing the way they lost, 2 pick sixes at home, 2 non-conference losses in a row for the first time. What did you came with a stat, like 1953 or
1957.
57?
Not even at home. 2 non-conference losses back-to-back. First time since 1957.
I mean, that is you think things are going to get a little tense here at 1 and 2. I mean, they're burning cornfields out in Lincoln right now. It is. Some of the stuff I've read out there is just holy mackerel. They're very upset about this. That's the backdrop that Rutgers walks into this.
Mike Riley could be coaching for his game, for his job,
yeah,
for his career, maybe.
There's no question that the stakes are high, and you go back and forth. I'm not sure this is a good way for this team to walk in, but. I mean, the team's no good. From what I've heard, certainly, I'm not saying Rutgers is going to win that game, but for the bits and pieces I watched of the Northern Illinois game, this is not going to be their biggest challenge of the season.
Yeah, I think we could spend a whole half an hour podcast. We won't because, there's mean tweets to read. But I think we could spend a whole half an hour podcast on, is this a good thing for Rutgers or not? Are you walking into an incredibly focused, team that has no room for error that's just going to wax you? Or are you walking into a team that knows its coach is on the hot seat, its AD doesn't like its coach, the locker room turns on its players, and they're going to mail in the season, as we've seen happen here not too long ago. So you could spend a whole time on that. I think it's probably... They'll be focused. They'll want to play. Right. But like you said, they're not any good. So, it doesn't really matter. When Vegas is saying it's an 11-point spread, that tells you it's not – yeah.
I'd be careful with it, too, because, it was only 2 weeks ago that Rutgers lost to a MAC team as well. Northern Illinois has kind of become a Big Ten killer. I mean, they're 4-1 all time against Big Ten teams. If you compare Northern Illinois and Eastern Michigan, I would think that Northern Illinois would be favored in that type of game. I'd just be careful, only because, like I said, 2 weeks ago, Rutgers had their own issues against another, probably a lesser MAC team.
Oh, certainly. And there's nothing that this first segment we'll call how the impossible can happen. And to think before the season that they'd have a shot, I did not. So now I think that it's a winnable game. But here's my problem. I still do not think, based on what I saw in the game against Morgan State, that this passing offense can do enough to win a game on the road. Nebraska's going to have a good run defense. They're going to stop Gus Edwards and Rob Martin, and if Rutgers can't prove it can pass really with any consistency against Morgan State, how's it going to do against Nebraska? And that's the one thing I come back to, that I wanted to see that in the game against Morgan State and did not really. I didn't see proficiency, ease of throwing in the pass game. I mean, so that's the one thing that I think is going to make this very difficult. How about you? Is there one aspect of the game that you think has to change for them to win?
Well, I want to hit on what you just said, which I think is fascinating, because the way Nebraska plays defense under Jersey guy Bob Diaco is they only typically rush 3 guys and drop 8 into coverage. You don't want to do that against Rutgers. You want to stack the box. Yeah. You want to have as many guys on the line. You want to stop that. It'll be interesting to see if Diaco is one of those guys. He has a reputation for smashing his head against the wall and doing my way or the highway kind of thing. It'd be interesting to see if he adjusts how he plays to fit what Rutgers is doing and stack the box and drop less guys into coverage, because you're right, Rutgers hasn't proven that it can pass the ball at all. So
yeah, they've run the ball 57% of the time. I asked Jerry Kill about it today, and even Chris Ash talked about the need to have more balance offensively. The reason why I think that Rutgers can compete against Nebraska is we've seen now over the last year that they can compete against teams in the Big Ten or teams in general that just aren't like scary, athletic. The skill positions are off the charts. Nebraska, when you look at them, they're not going to wow you, with the skill guys. That you would think that this could be a lot like Minnesota a year ago, Iowa a year ago,
Indiana,
Illinois, those types of games where Rutgers, they lost the games, but they competed.
So what has to happen, Sarge, for them to win this game?
Probably, you mentioned they need to pass the ball. Kyle Boland's going to have to take some shots and hit some shots. And again, I think they're just going to need to play. They've played winning defense all 3 weeks. I think they're going to need probably even a better effort defensively than they had against Washington, and that was a pretty good defensive effort. They're probably going to even need a better one.
They forced the 4 turnovers against Morgan State. You can't expect 4 against Nebraska, but Tanner Lee threw 2 pick sixes. They're certainly going to need, I'll say, at least 2 turnovers and maybe a non-traditional touchdown. You wanted to see one last week. We saw one that got taken off the board.
2, pretty much. Two
that got taken off the board. I'd say you need one, whether it's a pick six or a fumble recovery or Janarian Grant. How about Janarian Grant gets a big return? Right. He was pretty much MIA in that game because they basically gave him the Saturday off.
Yeah.
So I'd say they need a non-traditional score one way or the other.
Right. So if you give it a percentage, if you had to give me the line's 11.5, what are you going to say?
Well, why doesn't Sarge start? Because you already gave me a mea culpa, but Sarge laughed in my face too when I said it was
he
winnable.
did. That's
so
a good point.
I'm waiting for his mea. Now, what is the percentage?
I don't remember that tape, by the way. We're going to have to go back to the archives. I don't know. I think that Rutgers, it is a winnable game. I will concede that, but I still think it's a long shot with as much youth as this team has. Nebraska, it's going to be a tough environment. 85,000 fans. So much youth, and I know Chris Ash and Jerry Kill both downplayed it, but
percentage.
He's going to hold you to the number. What give me a percentage
shot?
Rutgers
have to win the game?
Yes.
Yeah.
25%.
Wow, that's high.
That's not to steal his thunder, but that's what I was going to say too. 20 to 25%.
I'm going to put it at 7.5%. I still do not think they can go there with the youth in this team in that atmosphere. Considering what happened, it would be a I don't care what the line is. It'd be a program-changing upset for Chris Ash.
I think it would do more good than Eastern Michigan did bad. If you're tilting the scales, would it even it out? I think it would do more than even it out.
All right, let's talk about as I'm calling the segment, the fun in the kiddie pool here at High Point Solution Stadium. We had a hot tub for the first game. It was pretty much all the babies on the field here against Morgan State. Look, it was Morgan State's bad. There's no debating that, and really you can't get a lot out of what happened in that game. But 65-0 victory. Chris Ash actually had to hold the score down. It looked like it was going to get out of hand in the 70s. But the one thing you did, you saw a lot of the future of this program, and you have to feel pretty good about what you saw. So if I'm going to ask both you guys, if there was one of the true freshmen that played that you want to see more of, who would it be?
I'll go with the same guy who I said last week, Raheem Blackshear.
Yeah.
A change of pace. I think that Gus Edwards and Robert Martin are what they are. I think they're solid Big Ten caliber running backs. They're not, but Raheem Blackshear just brought a different level, different speed. They don't have a whole lot of guys where they wow you with their speed and can break one at any given point. Right. I don't want to anoint him as a Jonathan Taylor, the kid from Wisconsin, who's been out of this world the first 2 weeks, but I think he needs to be more incorporated into the offense. The
thing I liked about Blackshear too is his. I mean, for 5'9", he ran with some power too. He had a little downfield. This is a guy with speed, but he's a pretty strong kid, too. I was impressed with that. Who are you taking?
I mean, the obvious answer is Lewis. Well, why don't we before we get to Lewis, I'll say Bo Melton. He had his first catch, 48-yarder. What I loved about that one catch was not only was it a big play, he was on the doorstep of the end zone. He got tackled at the 2, but he didn't take his eyes off the ball. He wasn't thinking about scoring before. He didn't even mind getting tackled at the 2-yard line. It wasn't an all-about-me moment. You know what I mean? That's what if you're diving into that. I really love that. I want to see more Bo Melton.
Why haven't we seen more of him? Is he not figuring out the routes? I mean, the kid obviously is the guy, the most talented receiver.
He started 2 of the 3 games. Yeah. I don't know. Really, if you look at it, Janarian Grant has 12 catches. Damon Mitchell has 8, most of which were on that last drive against Eastern Michigan. And none of their receivers have really gotten involved. Wormley has 1 catch. Hayek has 2 for 2 yards. Melton has the 1. Right. Jay Harris, I don't think, has any. So they've been very tight end involved. So I just don't think any of the receivers have gotten much. And then Lewis, obviously, is the answer to this question, right? We're all looking for the fancy answer of what's right. Lewis, I need to see more Lewis. I especially like the idea of playing Lewis in the red zone. Maybe, and what I loved was Bolin after the game said, "I'll drive the team 90 yards and hand the ball off to Lewis. Let him take it in from the 10." I love that mindset from Bolin. It sounded genuine. I want to see more of Lewis, not just 1 or 2 plays, and not even necessarily whole drives, but let's utilize his talents inside the 20-yard line.
And what I like about it is, 4 or 5 years ago, this type of gun run wildcat was all the rage, and people didn't really know how to stop it. Now every defense knows how to stop it. So it basically boils down to, it's coming. Can you stop him? And you saw Eastern Michigan, they were able to stop him. Obviously, Morgan State, lesser opponent. If he gets onto the field, you know what's coming. Okay, maybe he, one out of every 4 or 5, he might do a run-pass option and actually throw the ball. But basically, he's going to be running the ball. Can you tackle him? Can you stop him?
The difference is people compare him to Tylen Oden. Tylen Oden, with all due respect, was 160 pounds soaking wet.
Yes, that's the big difference.
And Jonathan Lewis, Tariq Cole just told me, I said, "What did you think of Jonathan Lewis?" He said, when I first saw him, I said, "You're 240 pounds and you're a quarterback?"
He walked into the press. You don't realize how big he is. He walks in the press conference, and you see him, like, oh, my, this is a huge kid. He's just enormous. Yes. I mean, so he's a different type player than Tylen Oden, and they're convinced that he can throw the ball. I like what Jerry Kill said, that they're not going to use him in one play, bring him back out there. They're going to use him for a series, for a set of downs, for the different situational stuff still. But the one and out play thing's got to stop, and I'm glad they're going to do that. I want to throw in one freshman before we go. I mean, Justin Davidovitz. The fact, I know the bar's on the ground here with Rutgers special teams. But, I mean, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame by the end of the season if he gets kicking the ball into the end zone. Oh my goodness.
Here's the stat, right? He had 6 touchbacks against Morgan State. Do you know how many touchbacks they had last season?
I read it.
I don't know.
4.
Yeah. That's
in the season.
I don't pull in the entire season. Well, they only kicked off like 14 times and they didn't score. But still, I mean, that's incredible. All right. So all those guys are going to be included in the true or false. Our favorite segment. Based on the one listener who told me about it. I'm going to go true or false. You guys say just true or false. We'll come back and we'll talk about all this stuff at the end. First question. Raheem Blackshear deserves to be, as a running back, on even footing with Gus Edwards and Rob Martin.
False.
True.
Wow. Okay.
Just this week, but true.
Rutgers has next to no chance to beat Purdue.
False.
If you're naming this one winnable, Purdue looks good, though. What do you got, Dunleavy?
False.
All right. Okay. Number 3, Rutgers wide receivers continue to be the team's biggest concern.
True.
False.
Wow. I can see you find out what your biggest concern is. Only 3 catches for them in the last week. Number 4, Darnell Davis is the team's best defensive player.
True.
All
right.
Wow.
Number 5, this freshman class will go down as Rutgers' best of the 2000s.
False.
That's tough. That's a tough one. It's good, but it's going to be hard to do. Number 6, Rutgers should scramble and schedule more MEAC teams immediatally.
True.
Oh, big false on that. You get very little out of those games.
I would like to see play Monmouth in a few years.
Number 7, Rutgers will be better at quarterback this week.
True.
And number 8, my friend Justin Davidovitz deserves a spot in the Rutgers Hall of Fame already for kicking the ball into the end zone. Premature? True. No, I think he's going in.
It's false.
He's gonna beat Carly Lloyd in.
Oh, well, that's its own podcast.
We'll have to save that for another podcast. All right, go back. So what is the biggest concern on the team if it's not wide receivers?
I would say the defensive line, and we just
Really?
saw against Big Ten teams. I mean,
Right.
let's see it first. I mean, they're still playing without Badeke, Jimmy Hogan. They have Miles Nash going both ways.
The depth there is bad.
The depth is not good, and we saw this this song and dance a year ago where they weren't even close to
Yeah.
They have to improve so markedly to be even near Big Ten level.
To be in the middle.
Yeah.
You say it's a big concern, even though we haven't seen it unfold yet.
Yes.
And they were pushed around a little bit against
Correct, and again, they're playing Miles Nash both ways. It's a concern.
I just think that this offense can't be good until somebody establishes himself as a receiver, and we haven't seen that yet. Granted, Leonte Cruz now walking through that door, but that's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Damon Mitchell is the guy to run the middle of the field intermediate routes, but Sarge said it all the time. He had 23 career touches at Arkansas, so he already has 8 here. So I want to see more of Damon Mitchell.
And I side with you on Blackshear. I loved what I saw, but I think that he's still behind those two guys. I mean, we have Rob Martin. I go to my grave. He's the best running back on the team. And Edwards certainly has had his moments too. So.
Let me ask you a question. Obviously, the game plays out differently. Both of you. I'll take the I'll take the lead here. Rutgers runs the ball 30 times, 25, 30 times against Nebraska. Give me that. How do you want those carries broken down between those 3 guys? Not Lewis. 30 other times.
30. I want 15. I want 15 Martin, 10 Edwards, and can I get 5 for Blackshear? Is that off pace kind of guy? Can he catch the ball? Can I get him involved? I don't know.
He has 2 catches
last game. Last game. I mean, get him involved in passing game too and passing downs. What do you think?
And that's pretty much where I'd go. And it goes back to the true or false to go and give one answer. I think that Blackshear again deserves a play, not on even footing. I think he's a change of pace guy, and if you put him in, when in certain plays or whatever, you have a certain amount of plays catching the ball out of the backfield, whatever you determine it. It could be 5, could be 7 plays, but I would say that's pretty much the percentage I'd go.
I want more than that. I want more than change of pace. I don't know if he has to be on even footing.
The most
with those
talented
guys.
position on the team.
I
still want to see him out.
Jerry Keel said, and I'll go with Jerry Keel. He said he ran at a different speed than everybody else on the field. Not just the other running backs.
Yep.
Everybody else on the field, he was playing at a different speed. So
Rutgers
doesn't have a lot of speed.
And this is what happened with Ray Rice. He was a guy that midway through his freshman year, they're like, "Oh, he's the best on the team," right?
Yeah.
And then he became.
And then it was like, Brian Leonard, we love you.
We love you.
You go over here.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if we're quite at that point yet, but you make a good point. Play the most talented kid. All right, so we're going to combine 2 segments now: the Big Ten fan base we pissed off this week, and the mean tweets of the week. Here it is: the Big Ten fan base.
Sounds like a Disney song.
You could have played this and given me 25 guesses, and I wouldn't have come up with the fight song.
Yeah, I would.
Does anybody? I mean, I'm going to play a little longer, just so see if the fans listening can figure it out before we reveal it.
Feels like a song you'd hear at a parade at Disney.
Disney parade song. Yes. The name of the song, Illinois' Oski Wow Wow. I do not know what that means, but that is apparently the fight. It's not the fight song. Maybe we're really pissed off Illinois fan base. It's what I found on Google.
Yeah. And you can always count
which
that.
is great.
Wikipedia, did they have one?
Wait, how did we piss off the Illinois fan base? Please share, Ryan, because as usual, it's your social media habit that has gotten us into this situation.
So it's not nearly to the expanse that we pissed off Michigan
Penn
or
State, yeah.
Penn State. I mean, I don't know that we'll ever get back there. But I got pissed off a couple people, Illini, B88, and Trakis, Trakis, when the Big Ten announced its 2020 and 2021 schedules. Rutgers has Illinois both years. I said, and I was very careful not to say that's a win for Rutgers because that could be perceived as an actual on-field win and not just like a morale win.
Right.
I said that couldn't have worked out any better, basically. And one guy said, wow, get a load of this guy. And the other guy said, the Illini will be a different team by then based on how Lovey has been recruiting. Our current frosh proved that. It won't be pretty for Rutgers.
Wow.
Which everything I've heard is that Lovey's recruiting has not been good.
I didn't think it was anything.
And our current Frosh proved that. I mean, that could be a Rutgers fan saying that to Illinois. So that just basically goes back to my point, which is these two teams are the same team, one in the East, one in the West. They should be playing each other every year. That was the point of the tweet, and people did not like that.
Oh, it's interesting though, because your first glance at that schedule was win for Rutgers. My first glance at it was like Jim Delaney's driving the truck over this poor campus again.
We had that text exchange,
right, but for different reasons. I just when they had them, like the only couple of times in the history of Rutgers when this program has been nationally relevant is because they had a favorable schedule and could get out to 7-0 and 9-0, and suddenly, hey, look, Rutgers is in the top 15. Excitement! Let's get Mike and the Mad Dog down here! Hooray! Yeah. By putting Michigan, they open up with at Michigan and at Ohio State in those 2 years. You are guaranteeing that you're not going to. You're just slapping them in the face to start. That was the way I looked at that schedule.
You looked at the order. I knew what the teams were going to be in the East, whether you play them in November or September. The first thing I looked at right away were what are the 3 crossover West Division games, because it'll go back to the thing Sarge and I have said many times, is if Rutgers was in the West Division, I think they were a bowl team. So, I mean, Wisconsin could turn off the gas right now, turn out the lights right now. They're going to the Big Ten championship game.
That's pretty true.
Yeah, so that's the first thing I looked at.
Reporter, you can book
it now.
Last week in November, early December.
All right, so looking at these schedules, now we know the schedules for the next 5 years, I guess, 4 years. What's the big takeaway from that? From what you see?
I think Ryan nailed it. I mean, I think every year Rutgers, their one path to a bowl game is going to be beat Indiana, beat Maryland, win your non-conference games, and then hopefully have an Illinois or a Purdue.
Try to go 2-1 in the West.
Go to 2-1 in the West. That's going to be your path to 7 wins, 6 wins, 8 wins. That'll be the path.
And it looks like that they at least by getting Illinois, and I know these programs are on equal level now. If you're looking at the schedule, Illinois is still the game that stands out, the next easiest game for them to win this year, certainly by far, based on the results.
Yeah, I mean, I looked it up when this guy started coming at me, and I said Illinois has had 3 winning seasons since 2002.
Right.
I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, the idea that they're suddenly going to become Wisconsin. I mean, Sarge tells the stat all the time, right? Like Ohio State and Michigan have won the Big Ten 80% of the time. They're the only teams you can say. Michigan State proved it last year. Nebraska's proving it right now. They're the only 2 teams in the Big Ten you can say are going to be good every year. Everything else, I'm not sold Illinois is magically going to be good. So.
All right, next segment. The first road game of the year for Rutgers. I'm calling this Road Trip. Remember the commercials with Lou Holtz? Every time he said Road Trip, when he go walk up to the guy at the gas station. I love those.
I think you guys.
It made me laugh.
You guys are a couple years older than me.
Maybe. I don't. You don't remember that? Come on, I know. When was that?
I don't remember. You remember the OJ commercials?
Yeah, you remember those? I've heard about those. I don't really remember. I was.
That's not. By the way, you're just like you haven't seen. We'll talk about some embarrassing things about Ryan this year, but maybe it's just another example of you not seeing stuff.
I was 12 when OJ happened. They actually wheeled the VCR into our gym class, and the whole school
You're
watched.
Like, wait, he played in the NFL?
Yeah.
All right, first road trip of the year. We've got 2 things we want to talk about in this segment. First of all, the fact that it is the serious football side of it is you're bringing a boatload of freshmen into. I mean, we've been to enough stadiums now. It was. I think I would rank it number 1 just for cool factor of seeing the stadium. It might not be the most intimidating place to play in the Big Ten, but this is an NFL stadium.
Well, the environmental minded guy in me, you have to almost see it to believe it. After after the kickoff, they actually unleash. Got to be about.
Balloons.
20,000 balloons
up into the air.
That. Yes.
I'm like, holy cow, that's bad for the environment.
Yeah. So many birds
I'm the
are
only
dying.
person in the press box. Everyone else is just in awe by it. It probably happens every week.
And I think you and I were
that bad for the environment.
I was wowed.
You and I were competitors at the time, and I was sitting next to you, and I was like, if that happened in New Jersey, we get 20 emails from bird ecologists saying that Rutgers is killing birds.
Rutgers would have killed off an entire line of seagulls by doing that.
Yeah, that stat, we haven't talked about it, is I think it's 365 consecutive sellouts for Nebraska.
Amazing. Yeah.
I mean, that
back
is
to the early
1962.
60s. But you go, and if this is, and if I were a fan, this would be obviously Ann Arbor. You want to go to the big house, but this would be the next trip I would make. I think I would just. I mean, the people are so nice.
It's a great football town.
Great football. It's just, and then I wanted to go back to this because we were having so much fun talking about it. Our first trip to Lincoln was preceded by the single worst piece of advice that any of us have ever been given. And I want you to
that's right. Bold.
I want you to tell the story, right? Because you tell it so well. Just take it from the top. It is a great behind the scenes story.
So it was like September 2014, and Julie Herman former Rutgers athletics director. Julie Herman was in the throes of her controversies, many controversies. Some had happened, some were yet to happen, and Julie was a star volleyball player at Nebraska, an absolute star volleyball player, and the media were invited to talk to Julie Herman and do a story. She didn't talk to media very often, so it was an opportunity to talk to her.
Rare opportunity
to talk to her, get some FaceTime, get her to know us, build a rapport, all the things that media people usually like to do. We'll do this story in exchange for building a relationship with you down the road. Well, we do the story, we sit with Julie for 7-8 minutes, we turn the tape recorders off, and we say, just making small talk, where should we go eat dinner? And, just name a restaurant. Name any restaurant.
Thinking like maybe a steakhouse?
Yeah, it's Omaha Steak, right?
That's
probably where you go.
Yep.
So she recommended a pizza joint. I wish I had the name of it in front of me. I don't.
It's like a Nebraska.
It's a Nebraska pizza joint.
Yep.
And we instantly were like, really? You're going to recommend pizza to like six dudes from New Jersey / New York? The pizza capital
of we do well.
America. Yeah. And she's like, no, it's great. Trust me. So we go out there. We're like, I guess we're going to get this. We don't have to. It's the post-game meal in the press box. Right. So this is perfect. It's free. We don't even have to pay for it. And I looked at it, and I was like, well, it looks weird. It had mayonnaise on it, or mustard, or both. It was so bad. I spit it in the thing.
I have never seen a grown man spit food. I've seen my daughters spit food out. I've never seen a grown man literally
and I just grabbed it without really
out.
Looking at it. My gag reflex, my gag reflex. And these people are so nice. You park the car, and I'm trying not to say, be that asshole from New Jersey who goes, oh, my God, this is disgusting. But my mouth is filled with this. And I'm like, don't leave you. I'm not gonna, yak in the garbage can at Memorial Stadium in the press room.
Yeah.
But it was.
And that was the moment I lost all confidence in Julie. That was the moment I lost confidence.
Yeah, I reached that a little sooner. But yeah, that was our trip to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Needless to say, we won't be eating that pizza again. But check our Twitter accounts because we will tweet pictures of it.
You better get a steak. I'm not making this trip, but you guys better get a steak. All right, do you want to do some predictions on this?
Yeah, I think we should bring it back to football because we're so excited to tell that story. Right. I think it's a concern, like Sarge was saying, about bringing all these freshmen to. Jerry Keel's answer was basically, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to hope they don't realize
that was great. That was a great answer.
We're going to write about it.
Hope they don't read NJ.com because then they're going to figure it out real quick. But yes, I think that is a concern to bring. Ash tried to spin it into a positive, basically said it's good for team bonding to get on the road and be together, brotherhood. But yes, certainly, especially if there's an early momentum swing that goes in Nebraska's favor, I'm certainly interested to see how these Rutgers kids bounce back to some adversity.
Yeah, I think the line is probably where I kind of figured it going in, 11 points. I think Rutgers has a shot. It is winnable, going back to the original point, but I think it's a tough environment to have.
Although you see some of the bigger upsets in college football have been on. I mean, you talked about Appalachian State and the Big House. There have been examples of teams going on the road and doing it. So it has happened before. I mean, it would be. But I tell you, if it does happen, it's going to be out there. People think we're negative, but some of the stuff that we're reading from Nebraska right now, it is bad.
One thing I thought was interesting, Jay Neiman downplayed it because that's Jay Neiman's style, but I think that it's worth noting, right? Jay Neiman was the defensive coordinator at Northern Illinois 2 years ago. So he
right.
knows some of the players. He certainly knows some of the coaches. I'd be shocked if he didn't send a SOS message out there like, hey, what are some of the things you did that worked here?
That's a great point. It really is. That's a behind-the-scenes kind of deal, yeah. All right, so what do you think's going to happen? The line's 11 points. I was surprised the line it's a little lower than I thought it would have been, given Rutgers' Big Ten struggles, obviously. Who wants to go first? You want to pick?
Yeah, I mean, I think 31-20 right at the line.
Yeah.
Rutgers it'll be a game deep into the third quarter. I think Nebraska is just going to be able to wear them down late, but I think Rutgers will compete with them.
Yeah, now that we spent 35 minutes telling you that we expect this upset to, possibly happen, let's all pick Nebraska.
You go ahead, please.
I'm going to pick I think Nebraska probably wins by 2 touchdowns. It was 42-24 last time we were out there. I don't see this game being that high scoring on either side. Maybe 28-14, something like that. That's probably what I expect to happen. Very similar probably to the Washington game where Rutgers is in it, maybe winning at halftime.
Right.
Fourth quarter has your interest, but I just don't think they have the horses yet.
Yeah, I'm going a little bit on the other end, and again, I'm just concerned about this offense's ability to score against a team. I mean, remember, Northern Illinois won that game because of 2 pick sixes, and they were dominated statistically. Looking at the box score, Nebraska is not good offensively, but I have a hard time imagining it. Rutgers scoring more than touchdowns, so I'm going to go 31-7 Nebraska. If they can keep it, if it's 14-7 at halftime, there's a chance they can make it interesting, memorable kind of afternoon, but it's going to be tough.
Let's also throw out why we did that Neiman nugget. Rutgers has actually played Tanner Lee, Nebraska's quarterback, before. He was for Rutgers fans who are diehards. Right. He was the starting quarterback when Tulane came here in 2014. He got hurt in the first quarter of the game, and Rutgers ended up winning the game pretty easily.
Jay Neiman looked at you like he did not know that.
Yeah, he did look at me like,
you're like, oh, really?
Like, I might actually.
Make a note of that. Thanks.
Yeah. So I actually talked to Tanner Lee about that at Media Day, so I'll have something up this week on that.
Lovely. What else do we got coming, Sarge? What other covers do we have in the hopper? I'm just
looking forward to the dinner on Friday night. Anything
casino?
But the Nebraska pizza.
Maybe that Iowa casino?
Wow, that's nice.
My wife might be listening, so no casino.
She doesn't listen.
All right, well, if you're listening to the podcast and you're going to Lincoln, you now know where to find Sarge and Ryan on Friday night in Nebraska. All right, we're going to sign off from here. Thanks for listening, guys. It'll be fun. We'll be back next week to recap